Why were Raymond Tata and every familiar face from Real Madrid nowhere to be seen at Old Trafford 2 nights ago? Because Casemiro, the man who carries Real Madrid's royal blood, had already brought that famous comeback DNA to Manchester United. While Real was locked down by Arsenal, another Brazilian was channeling that same unbreakable fighting spirit on English soil. Harry Maguire may be the name splashed across headlines as the last-minute hero, but the mastermind behind this dramatic football epic was Casemiro, the silent director of a cinematic night at Old Trafford. Real Madrid is famous for stunning comebacks, but tonight, it was Old Trafford that became the stage for a classic resurrection. Lyon left the pitch in disbelief, with no clue how they ended up losing. Casemiro was the clearest difference between a team drowning in chaos and a warrior who still believed the match was far from over. In just the final 8 minutes of extra time, he played a part in all 3 goals, helping the Red Devils overturn a 2-4 deficit into a breathtaking 5-4 victory. This was not just a win to reach the Europa League semi-finals, it was a powerful statement about the true value Casemiro still brings at the age of 33, despite whispers that he might be offloaded this summer. He needed no spotlight, no grand display, just quiet determination and brilliance when it mattered most. The defining moment came in the 110th minute. With the score still 2-4, the atmosphere inside Old Trafford grew heavy. Rows of seats began to shift as fans slowly filtered out. United looked out of ideas. Manager Ruben Amorim flipped through his tactics board as if searching for a miracle. Onana slumped to the ground after each goal conceded, and then Casemiro stepped up. In a fierce battle inside the box, he cleverly positioned himself and drew a foul from the defender. VAR checked it, penalty for the Red Devils, and Bruno Fernandes did not miss. The goal was more than a lifeline, it was a spark that reignited hope across the stadium. Moments later, Casemiro made a subtle touch to set up Kobbie Mainoo inside the box. The young midfielder fired home with ice-cold composure to level the match at 4-4. The crowd erupted. Lyon was dazed, but the final blow was still to come. In the first minute of stoppage time and extra time, Casemiro received the ball on the left flank, just outside the box. Calm and collected, he delivered a perfectly weighted cross. Not too much spin, not too much power, just enough for Anthony Martial to rise and head the ball into the net. 3 goals in just 8 minutes, and Casemiro had a hand in all of them. That was no coincidence. His ability to read the game, to pick the right moment to push forward or drop back, came from years of experience at the highest level. At 33, Casemiro is no longer the machine who covered every inch of the field, but he still controls matches with his mind and his unmatched calm. In a team full of youthful faces, his maturity and composure are the final anchor, the steady hand that holds everything together in the chaos. After the final whistle, people may remember Martial for the winning goal or Mainoo for the equalizer, but if you look back at those final 15 minutes of this wild match, there is only one name that truly changed everything, the man who tied each moment together into a perfect symphony of comeback football, Casemiro. In Ruben Amorim's familiar 3-4-2-1 formation, Casemiro lined up alongside Manuel Ugarte in central midfield. He remained the dependable pivot, covering vast territory and appearing in nearly every key area on the pitch, from breaking up attacks to launching them. On the pitch, Casemiro had one clear mission: dominate the middle of the park and neutralize Lyon's playmaker Thiago Almada. He never backed away from contact, constantly diving into challenges to regain possession while easing the pressure on United's back 3. Though past his physical peak, Casemiro's football intelligence allowed him to conserve energy, distribute it wisely, and show up in the right place at the right time. The stats told the full story. According to SofaScore, Casemiro was rated 9.3, the highest in the match. He also created more chances than any other United player, with 4 key passes, 2 of which directly led to goals. In total, the Brazilian completed 55 passes with an accuracy rate of 87%, a remarkable figure considering he played the full 120 minutes. Defensively, Casemiro remained as steel-tough as ever. He made 8 clearances, second only to Leny Yoro. He added 3 successful tackles and 2 crucial interceptions. No player on the pitch won more duels than he did, and no one else contributed to both attack and defense with such relentless intensity. Once considered an irreplaceable pillar in his first season wearing the red of Manchester United, Casemiro gradually lost the trust of both fans and the coaching staff in the seasons that followed. At the start of the 2023 to 2024 campaign, he struggled with fitness issues, inconsistent performances, and became the target of criticism after a series of underwhelming displays. From being one of the best defensive midfielders in the world, he was labeled as a shadow of his former self, seen by many as the symbol of poor recruitment under Erik ten Hag. Under manager Ruben Amorim, Casemiro was not given special treatment either. For most of the first half of the season, he had to settle for a spot on the bench, making way for Ugarte and the young rising star Kobbie Mainoo. While he remained effective in breaking up play, Casemiro's pace and ability to cover ground had clearly declined, especially when facing teams that transitioned quickly. A significant portion of the fan base even called for the club to sell him, hoping to offload his massive wage of £350,000 per week, a figure many felt no longer matched his contributions on the pitch. In the eyes of the media and fans, Casemiro slowly faded from the spotlight. He was no longer viewed as untouchable. In fact, he was often seen as a backup option, someone brought on only when the team lacked personnel, rather than a true cornerstone of the squad. But things began to shift when Casemiro was given another chance to start. He played with more simplicity, more discipline, and most importantly, a clearer understanding of his role within the tactical system. Even manager Amorim had to acknowledge it, saying, "Casemiro is improving his style of play, and I am also learning how to use players like him. I do not ask him to press high because our defense is already more solid." Casemiro reads the game exceptionally well in tight spaces. He is intelligent and has a very sharp sense of where the ball is going. From a name under scrutiny, Casemiro is gradually making his way back. He may not be the standout performer every week, but he has become the key link that keeps the whole system running smoothly, the quiet figure who restores order in chaos. But perhaps the most valuable thing Casemiro brought to Manchester United against Lyon had nothing to do with pinpoint passes or fierce tackles. His true worth was composure, a quality no stat can measure. As the game reached the final moments of extra time, when many players began to lose focus and make poor decisions under pressure, Casemiro stayed calm. He knew when to simplify, when to take a risk, when to slow the game down or accelerate. In a team still lacking cohesion, that steadiness became an irreplaceable anchor. Casemiro is not the type of player who dazzles crowds with flashy footwork or highlight reel shots. He rarely graces magazine covers. He does not shout or show off. But anyone who followed Real Madrid during their Champions League dominance knows this. Casemiro is a man for the big moments, quiet but always present when it matters most. In legendary comebacks against Paris Saint-Germain or Manchester City, he was the shield in midfield, the balance between defense and attack, the pillar that star attackers leaned on. And on that iconic night at Old Trafford, that same stability showed up once again. No need for dramatic gestures or loud commands, just being in the right place at the right time. Casemiro brought more than quality, he brought absolute security. A strange but undeniable feeling, when Casemiro is on the pitch, the team rarely collapses. He may not always be the best player, but in defining moments, every eye turns to him, because everyone knows he will not back down. Manchester United today is not yet a team with the comeback DNA of vintage Real Madrid. Nor do they carry the constant magic of Fergie time from their golden era. But Casemiro is different. He carries that legacy within him, as instinct, forged from nearly a decade at the top of European football. And on a night at Old Trafford when the fire seemed to fade, he needed only 8 minutes to change everything. 8 minutes to revive the fearsome spirit that once shook all of Europe. 8 minutes to bring Manchester United fans back to unforgettable memories. Some called it Fergie Time version 2. Others joked it was Amorim Time. But if one name truly captures that moment, it can only be called Casemiro Time. No one knows how much longer Casemiro will stay at Manchester United. It might be just a few more months, or perhaps one final season before he moves to a quieter destination to close out his career. But there are moments that last forever, and the comeback against Lyon is one of them. It was not just a match, it was the declaration of a warrior once forgotten, now stepping forward to pull an entire team with him through sheer grit, guided by survival instincts etched deep in his soul. This season, Manchester United is still full of uncertainty. Casemiro may no longer be part of the club's long-term plans, but at the very least, against Lyon, he reminded the world of one simple truth: form is temporary, class is permanent.